Attack the enemy! Victory is ours!
Hello everyone, and welcome back for some more middle to high tier Japanese tank gameplay. I'm gonna bring you two battles today. The first one from the 11th of December 2017, where I started out in my Type 61, but as it tends to go, I rather quickly ended up in my Ho-Ri production. Now, on Finland, I don't really have a preferred way to go on this map when it's a domination battle, as it is right here. This time, there were enough people ahead of me. I joined into this battle a little bit late because I was getting a drink or something, I forget. Anyway, the bulk of the team was way up ahead of me and had gotten to B, so I pushed over to the C point because there were only 3 teammates heading that way, and more than enough teammates heading to B. I would have gone to A if I'd have been anywhere near it, but if I had started that way from the beginning, but I was far closer to the C point, so I went that way instead. Kind of figuring we'll take A, we'll take B, we'll take C, we'll leave A to them, and maybe move back and counteract them at A later. So a Carnarvon kills a Type 61, which turns out to be right up in front of me. That's a little bit scary, because basically anything can kill a Type 61. I looked for him up front, but wasn't about to go out the same direction that our Type 61 had gone right in front of me. And a T-92 got killed up in front of me by IS-6, so that was awfully nice. But apparently they were watching over this way, because as soon as I came around into view around the rocks here, I took a hit immediately. Got a shot back into the guy that had shot me, but unfortunately the very glancing hit that it was with my Heat FS was pretty much worthless. And then the follow-up shot I took crippled my tank pretty badly. And my smoke was apparently totally useless too, because they were both already zoomed in on me, and yeah, that was that pretty quickly for the poor Type 61.
The enemy controls most of the strategic.
But that just meant I could come back in the Ho-Ri production. Boy, I love the Ho-Ri production. Let me tell ya. Very, very quickly becoming one of my most favorite vehicles to drive in this game at the moment. Possibly also of all time, but I don't know yet. It's still a little too new to me. But I really do like driving it. So much so that I did buy a talisman for it and put a talisman on the Ho-Ri production, because my test drive has expired for the Ho-Ri prototype, which was fine because I'd much rather be driving the production anyway. I don't know why I haven't shrubbed it up yet, or why it took me so long. I have now. I don't know why I hadn't at this point, why it took me so long to remember that it wasn't a test drive and I could actually put the shrubs on it, but I have since rectified that situation, so. While I looked back behind me, I drifted my steering a little off to the right there and ended up colliding with this rock, kind of embarrassingly. But, oh well. I got myself reoriented and back up towards the B point pretty quickly. Now, we wiped out the C point pretty rapidly there, but we're losing the B point, even though we have a pretty fair amount of guys over around B, so that's where I'm going to head. And no sooner do I get around the corner than I find a very tasty, juicy little target in this blissfully unaware M41. And, dispatch him rather rapidly, and then pull forward to see what is capping the B point, and discover a also juicy M46 from the side, and finish him off rather rapidly as well. Now I'm going to push up front here, because I'm pretty confident in the frontal armor on the Ho-Ri production, even though heat and some APDS rounds don't really care about it. I'm still pretty confident in most shots I'm going to take. Even more so now that I've got a bunch of bushes on the front of it, but I didn't have them here. But still, I was pretty confident. So I'm looking for any enemies that might be up front, and lo and behold, a Wild Conqueror appears. He gave me a beautiful side shot. Ordinarily, I'd have tried to move around and get a shot into his lower front plate, but he gave me the world's most beautiful side shot into his turret, and that's also a easily dispatchable shot there for the Ho-Ri production, so that was a quick 3 kills, and I was feeling pretty good about the Ho-Ri production at that point. bit concerned with hearing aircraft coming, but it's at least coming from the right direction to be friendly, so... Took my chances, and it was, of course, friendly. Pushed towards the A point to knock out whatever I could see there, and saw that M48 right up there going behind that rock. Unfortunately, not fast enough to get a shot at him, and he's going to kill our poor mouse there a second later. But I resolved to get revenge for our poor little mouse and chase down the M48 as quickly as I could. Which, thankfully, he drove right up in the opening and let me have a good shot into him, too. So I wasn't fast enough to save the poor mouse, but I at least avenged him. So there was kill number 4 in the whole reproduction, and as I'm trying to move up to a supporting position to shoot down onto the A point, just double check behind me, make sure there's nobody else over by the M48. Right as I'm about to line myself up to shoot up at the A point, I take a pretty decent hit in the left side there, lost my loader and my gunner. Have a teammate in the IS-6 here who's pulling forward, going after whatever shot me. And then, for whatever reason, he starts machine gunning. And all of a sudden, just noticed there he is and got a nice, easy shot into his lower front plate, and that was kill number 5. And I look at the minimap, I notice we've got a light tank, it's an RU-251, heading into the A point, so I turned over to the right here to get up on the top of this ridge and see what I could do to give him some supporting fire rather than push up closer towards their spawn, because, well, there's already a few guys moved up ahead of me, and he's all alone over there, and there's an extremely high probability of there being enemies on their sniper ridge there up across the right-hand side of the C row. So I'm going to move up here as fast as I can up this hill and try to get lined up to give some supporting fire to our 251 who's taking the A point. Now if you look at the minimap, you can see that there's pretty much no friendly air left, and all these aircraft that you hear and see flying over are enemy. And I'm trying to track them, but essentially the whole reproduction gun is almost never going to track fast enough on an airplane. Unless you've got one that's flying directly at you or directly away from you, which this guy did briefly, but I think about the time he realized that it was going to get dangerous, he pulled away. Also, our RU-251 was lighting up a lot of red tracers at him. So I started turning to chase after the F-84 with a bomb there, but there was no way, so... We've taken the A point, we've pretty safely got it covered, and I decided I might as well turn myself around here and get lined up to cover the B point from up here, since our guys are moving forward at the A point as well. And there really aren't that many enemies left. So I get set up here, up at the top of this hill, knock these trees down so I don't have any third-person view problems, and get myself set up to cover the B point and the approaches to B from near their spawn, just in case anybody makes it over there. And I'm kind of just sitting and waiting for more battle to happen and or the great spawn camping fest to start and finish the battle. And you'll notice a crashed out P-51 with about half a second of bomb drop noise, and that was all she wrote. So I thought about initially coming back in my tanks or my Ki-67, then I thought, no, I'll come back in the Kikka because I want to get that 800-kilo bomb. Now up to this point, I hadn't really had too much luck with the 500-kilo bomb. I'd had a few kills with it, but for the most part I would get hits or fires or tracks knocked out. But boy, I had some luck with the Kikka in these two battles. It was beautiful. So rolling back in, you can see that they're taking the B point and they're taking the C point. So I'm lining up on B because they're early in the cap. And I can see at least one tank moving there. And as I get up a little bit closer, I can see a second one. And this bomb drop was so beautiful that we're going to take a second look at it. Let's see just how good that bomb actually was. I didn't know till I went back and watched the replay, but the bomb actually hit the side of the T-29. It also damaged the FV-4202 there on the backside of the point, which led to me getting assist on him just a moment later here. Right there. From the T-44 that's going to come in from the right side of the screen and start taking the B point back for us. There he is. And there's the assist from the T-44 back in real time. So with that, I headed back to our airfield to land and get a new bomb and come back as quickly as possible, because I can see that we're about to take the B point back, but we still need captures again. So I'm going to try and get back and get a new bomb and fly back to give the team a little bit of air support. The problem with the Kikka and the ME-262 and the AR-234 and some of these really short runways, they don't have an air brake, so you've got to bleed off a lot of speed sometimes, and it's a little tough to do it. So I tend to cut my engines really early, because even flight idle in these jet engines really gives you a lot of thrust and is really hard to bleed your speed off. And so I end up doing a lot of really tight S-turns to burn the speed off with the engines turned off. And sometimes I just turn the engines off just a little bit too early, or bleed just a little bit too much speed and one too many S-turns. And that's kind of what happened here. Also, it tends to be a gamble on which airfields have that little hill at the end of them. This one does. And I thought it was going to be fine until I got right here and realized, yeah, we're definitely clipping the hill. Now, I lucked out somehow, because even though I broke both mains, I still ended up landing on the engine nacelles, and that was really all the damage that my plane took. Somehow a wingtip didn't break off, which is usually what happens. But like I said in chat there, like a glove. And didn't really have any massive repair time. So repair and reload, 25 seconds. Got the plane set back up into takeoff configuration, and just waited for the reload and respawn, or reload and repair rather, to happen. And we've now captured all 3 points. My plane is ready for takeoff again. And one thing you got to watch out for with the Kikka and a lot of the early jet aircraft is that they don't really spool up your acceleration very fast. And now, with the inability to hold your brakes down and your throttle at 100%, you can't let your engines spool up and then release the brakes for takeoff and accelerate a little faster. So you got to be real careful on some of these runways. A lot of these runways are not quite as long as you would probably like in an early jet equipped aircraft. And a couple times, I've gotten used to it now, but a couple early takeoffs in my Kikka, I climbed away just a little bit too early and brought the gear up just a little bit too early and brought the flaps up just a little bit too early, and ended up coming right back down to the ground slowly and gradually, but by the time you realize what's going to happen, it's too late and you're going to touch back down and just bottom out and skid the plane. It didn't happen here. I was fine here, but you can see the plane started dropping again a little bit before she finally started gaining airspeed again and established the actual takeoff. So the tickets are just about ticked away. I really didn't think I was going to get any more enemies to attack here, but figured I'll get in there as fast as I can and see if I can spot anything anywhere, and if not, well, I did alright anyways. This battle was pretty much alright, and did really well with the whole reproduction, and got a kill with my Kikka, so looks pretty good. Now I'm scanning back and forth looking for anything here. I see those guys get lit up off to the left, but then I notice down low to my right a T-34 coming around these buildings, so I'm going to try to drop just a little bit ahead of him, use the 2-second delay on my bombs, and I actually got him too. I did not expect to get that one, but as you'll see in this second look angle, I dropped the bomb just barely in front of him and he couldn't stop and he drove right up to it. Or he just accepted his fate and just didn't bother to stop, because I don't think he slowed down at all, but 5 kills with the whole reproduction, 2 bomb kills with the Kikka. Not a bad battle. And the replay angle that I chose happened to be pretty perfect, so I left it for you. And pulled back over the top just as the tickets ran out, and that was pretty much it for that battle there, and I even got the final blow. So not too bad of a battle altogether. Not too bad at all, in fact. 7 kills, 5 with the Hori production, 2 with the Kikka, a pair of assists. Did get 1 capture with the Hori production as well. And it's always a little interesting when you get a totally straight up even Silver Lion amount like that. 64,000, that's kind of rare. Pretty good research too. And a first place, not that bad at all. Pretty good awards even. There's the kill feed, and now for the second battle. This battle was from the 13th of December, just a couple nights later. And this time I didn't bother with the Type 61, I just went straight in with the Hori production right off the bat. Also, as you can see, I had become a Shrub Lord and pushed her up. And those eyes on the side of that mouse, well done. Hilarious. So we've got Poland. I'm heading right for the A point. See what I can do to either capture the point or support our guys at the A point themselves. The whole reproduction is plenty fast enough to make it to the A point here, unless the enemy has totally got it locked down, which in this case they didn't, but you'll see shortly.
Attention to the map. We've captured most of the strategic zones.
So you can see I take a hit from up at the front here. I got a fairly quick reaction shot back on him and didn't get the best damage that I wanted, but I did break his track. And then for some reason he shot again to let me know that he was still there, because I couldn't actually really see him behind all those bushes and stuff, but I got a really good follow-up shot into that Vickers MBT for my first kill of the battle. Now a second guy shoots at me up here. I was pretty sure it was an Object 906. But I didn't want to risk a blind shot back behind those. I figured he was wall peeking at me. So I didn't want to risk a blind shot, and I just kind of waited for him to peek his face back out. I didn't want to shoot at all the fence there, because there's just too many fence posts to reliably clear them. And then somebody pulls around behind the fence there. I did take a shot at them and miss. He took a shot back and thankfully bounced off the frontal armor, which I think was probably partially because of the bushes, and may also have been because of all the fence posts to shoot through. But I backed off to wait to see what I could see there, and then decided, you know what? They're going to expect me to sit back here and just wait and rely on my armor, so I'm going to charge forward instead and see what I can do, because the whole reproduction is capable of that. And not everyone expects it either. So I took off forward, bounced a shot from far back, bounced a shot from close up, and spotted our friend in the Object 906. Got a real good hit on him, which seemed like it should have been a hull break, but set him on fire anyway, and that was good enough. And then backed off to deal with the other enemy tank that I'd spotted right here. The 906 burns out. I get a bouncing hit on a Super Pershing, who backs off behind the building right there. And I waited to reload. Mostly focusing on the Super Pershing because I don't want him to charge me. He took a hit in the side there, and my reload finished. Or my repair, rather. And then I backed off to reposition myself a little better and possibly see the T-34 up behind, which I did. He gave me a pretty darn good shot in the side of his turret, and I was able to knock him out as well. Then the Super Pershing pulled out in the open again. He actually got a pretty good hit into my lower front. But then for some reason he left an awful lot of his tank exposed, and I got a kind of a riding along his track shot. And then inexplicably, just totally inexplicably, he gives me the Aztec alien head wrap side of his turret sticking out the back there, and lets me get a real good shot into it and knock out most of his turret crew, and then a good follow-up shot into the crew compartment. And that finished him off too. I don't know I mean, I'm sure he didn't really think about the counterweight side of his turret sticking out there, but that was that. And now I hear an enemy tank pulling up, and there he is driving up alongside of me. I'm thinking, that's it. He's going to spot me. He's got a side shot. I'm finished. However, it's an M46, and I figure he probably can't shoot me through that fence because he's probably got Heat FS rounds loaded. But again, instead of trying to back up, I came around the corner to try and catch him here, hoping that he continued forward. He did, and I rushed my shot here as the gun whipped to the left, and that was a bad mistake because I should have either just chased him down or I would have been able to catch him backing up to try and get a shot at me. But thankfully, I tanked his shot because it doesn't look like he actually was firing Heat FS rounds. And just as I got my tank back around on him, he got a pretty good hit into me again and disabled my tank pretty badly, but at least I killed him for the 5th kill. So another ace in the whole reproduction as I start taking some hits from this pesky ZSU-37 over here under that little opening there. Now, if you'll notice on our mini-map in D3 in the upper left corner, we've got a light tank driving up to their spawn. It's an RU-251, and also we're losing all of our capture points. Now, I was trying to get back to the capture point when I got tangled up with this M46, and unfortunately the ZSU-37 broke my tracks here right as I got repaired from all the damage from the M46. Now, I expected him to come around to the right side here, and he did. And again, unfortunately, not a hull break and not a very good hit into him. Didn't kill out his crew. Set him on fire pretty badly, but he was able to keep firing, and I've got multiple enemies shooting at me now, so trying to call for help because it would be very easy for whatever that light tank is back there to come and finish this ZSU-37 and whatever else is shooting at me probably. But he's just going to sit there behind the spawn and do nothing. So I get knocked out, and of course I'm a little bit annoyed because I just got killed for what really shouldn't have been a good reason. We did at least take the C point back, and I came back in the Type 61 like a fool. I should have just gone straight for the Kikka. But we've taken the C point back, so we've at least broken the really bad ticket bleed. And tried to head back for the A point to get a little bit of revenge. I know there's a... Well, now I know there's one less T-54 there, but I know there's a ZSU-37, and I know there's another tank up there that had just killed me, so I know what I'm driving into. And right as I come around out of our spawn, I see this T-44 up here. And, of course, the pretty good shot I get into him does absolutely nothing because it's a T-44-100, and he has that little bit of space defense skirt there, and it totally eats my Heat FS. So again, my poor Type 61 just gets no luck in this video.
The enemy's getting closer to victory.
But at least I still had the opportunity to spawn back in my beloved Kikka. So I can see there's multiple enemies closing in on my team that is in our spawn, and I'm moving in to try and get shots into whatever it is that's holding our guys up in the spawn there. And as I get close enough, I notice there is a guy shooting right here, off to the right, but I know the T-44 that had killed me is still there, and I got a pretty bomb drop onto him. Those bombs almost blew up right underneath him, just off to his right side. So a little bit of revenge, and then either they moved the airfield here, or I was way off on my bearings. I'm not entirely sure, but I didn't even come close to rolling out on the right heading to get back to the airfield. But a quick check of the minimap and line back up. I don't know if it could have also been the sun, but I don't really think so. So cut off the engines again, and I was thinking about 2 days back when I had crashed on the end of the runway because it was funny, and this battle was only 2 days later. But this time I was pretty sure that I had plenty of speed and was also quite a bit closer to the runway, and I know this runway doesn't have the ski jump, the hill at the front of it, the drop-off, the berm, whatever you want to call it. So I was a bit more confident. Also, I didn't really pull quite as many tight S-turns to bleed off the speed, so... Thought I was getting closed in on by an enemy jet, but it turned out to be the friendly Arado coming in, and lined myself up for a landing. Carrying a lot more speed this time, so I was a lot more confident. In fact, I was actually worried I was going a little too fast here. Wasn't entirely sure how short this runway was. But as you'll see, it was fine. I could have carried the plane a lot farther down. I kind of nosed her down to the ground here to get on the ground a little faster because I was worried about the end of the runway. But as you'll see, I could have landed on the actual runway itself and been just fine and still had plenty of time to stop between the regular brakes and the cannon brakes. No problem. Plenty of runway left when I stopped. So, as we get rearmed here, I'm going to take off again. I'm going to see what I can do to get back to the battle and help the guys out. Now, you can see we've got a lot of aircraft in the air, including myself about to take off again. That never really bodes well when you don't hold a majority of the caps. And I've said it before, when we are holding a majority of caps and I'm in a tank on the ground, and the team will be calling out, you know, there's this many of them in the air, I usually will say, good, they can't cap from up there, let them stay in the air. And I knew that even as I'm taking off, but I'd already waited for a reloaded bomb, so I'm going to try to get back to the battle as fast as I can, hopefully knock out an enemy, and then J out as quickly as I can, get back into a tank, and try to roll either A or B back over to our side here. So that's my plan. Even before I've taken off, I'm trying to get there as fast as I can, bomb something, ask them for the SPA at our spawn, do you guys have any targets? So I can line up on it, and then J out as quickly as I possibly can, and get back into a tank and see what I can do to maybe stop the ticket bleed.
The enemy is winning. We must counterattack.
This late in the battle, if you've got guys encroaching on your spawn and you've got 5 friendlies in air, it's probably not going to go very well unless you've got some really good CAS aircraft up. And we do, for the most part. The 335, the 234, the 129, they're all pretty good. The 162 is really kind of useless in a CAS aspect. He can take out SPAA, I guess, but that's really it. So I see guys getting marked. The Kikka's not bad, but it is a one-strike fighter as compared to the 335 or the 234. So I'm coming back. I've got a guy lined up right at our spawn there. I can see him getting marked, and then I see this other guy off to the right firing at my teammates, and I'm going to go for him. And even though by the time I realize just how close the other enemy is right inside our spawn, I'm already not in a position where I can really hit him. So I fire ahead of this guy to throw some dirt in front of him, come in really low, and get a really good bomb drop. I'm pretty sure that bomb exploded underneath his tank, although I didn't actually go back and watch the replay to know for sure. And just like the first battle, there is 5 kills in the whole reproduction and 2 kills in the Kikka, and like I promised, I J'd out as fast as I could, got back in my M41, which was the fastest tank I really had left, and I'm going to try to race for either A or B, essentially depending on where the spawn points us. I tried to tell the guys to run to the B point and decap it, but with that enemy T-34 right in our spawn, it really didn't matter. Now, I had hoped that he was dead or gone, but as soon as I come over the hill, there he is right there. I tried to get the front quarter crew kill shot, and I basically got what I wanted except for the crew kill part. And then didn't bother driving in front of him because it wasn't really going to matter. Still didn't get the crew kill that I wanted. And even though I aimed up at his turret, somehow the hiccup there at the end of the battle made my shot fire a lot lower and didn't get the good effect I was hoping for. But it really didn't matter because the battle was over anyway. So the reason I didn't call this carrying with the whole reproduction in the Kikka is because we didn't win the second battle. First place in both battles is good. 7 kills total with the 2 vehicles. 5 and 2 both times is good, but personally, I only consider it a carry if you carry the team to victory, so I don't consider this one carrying the team because we lost. It still went pretty well, and I had the most kills, but I'm more concerned with victories. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I still think both battles went pretty well personally. Obviously, the first battle was better, but that'll do for today. Thank you for stopping by and checking this one out, and have a great day, everybody.